Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
You're a little quiet, but I can hear you. I can turn you up
Yeah.
if that helps.
Yeah. My voice is going out, so how are you?
I'm pretty good. A bit busy recently, but
Okay.
being busy is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I noticed you're on a losing streak this week.
Yeah, I'm not really sure because I had a really good streak of games, and
Hmm.
that's what got me to nine Q, and then I haven't I don't, I haven't been winning any of my games or playing even particularly well. Um, I'm kind of uncertain. I mean, I feel like I know why I'm losing, but I'm not sure why I've started playing worse.
Hmm. So, mostly for today's lesson, I don't want to teach you any new tactics. I want to identify your losing streak. What bad habit are you building, and then fix that and get you back on track.
Sure, that sounds good.
Right. Do you have a game that shows something along the theme of what's been happening in the last several games?
I'm not really sure there's a theme. That's sort of the problem. There was one. I think. Wait, I think it's this game. Let me have a little look. Okay, no, that one wasn't. Definitely not that one. The one that happened against it was a handicap game, so I'm not sure how valuable it is. Against a 13Q, where like I didn't
Well,
really
that one
attack
was the
or
that one
play.
was the closest one you had. So that one's probably the one you did the best in.
Yeah, but even then, I feel like I should have. I really wasn't happy with how I played anyway.
Hmm.
Like I feel like if I'd played it a week ago, I would have won. Um, but that's the weird thing is like I do get this sense that I'm definitely performing worse, but it's hard for me to put my finger on what I'm doing worse.
Hmm.
So like in this one, I just let him build like a massive amount of territory in the center of the board, and um didn't manage to attack. Whereas like at our last lesson, like we did a focus on like attacking more and being aggressive.
Hmm.
And I'd been doing pretty well with that recently, so it's kind of confusing to me that it just feels like I don't have any opportunities to break his territory in the center of the board when I feel like I
Okay.
really did and I just didn't spot them.
Um,
Uh,
do you have a link?
yeah, but again, this was a handicap game, so I'm not sure how like
Okay. Do you have any other games with something similar?
I'll have a quick look. 1 second. I had a I had a load of games like games saved before this week, but like they're probably a bit out of date for reviewing. This one was a finished one. 11. This is probably the most. Have a look. What's this?
Review started.
This is a weird position. All right. So
Yeah,
this.
that's kind of why I'm not really sure he should be allowed to do that, but
Okay. So you know 3-3 is not common with handicap, right?
I don't know how to play handicap games, so
Okay. With two stones, you pretty much just treat it like an even game, and
okay,
then they'll give you a lead somewhere. If they don't make a mistake, you lose. Right? You're supposed
okay,
to. They have two more stones than you.
yeah. I mean that makes sense, yeah.
So you just treat it like an even game, and just play normal. Is this Josegi?
Is it not?
No. A or B or
Okay.
C. This is the common Josegi for single digit Q. For double digit Q, I always say make this exchange if you want to choose space jump.
Okay.
Without this exchange, I can just kick, and then later I can invade you. You see how you cramped?
Yeah, okay. I mean, I do this a lot, so that's actually useful.
Mm. Why kick?
Um, I think in the moment I was feeling that I didn't want him to get the corner away from me because I already had support on this side, so I thought I could
Kick
do
doesn't seal
this.
the corner. Oh, that does. So kick, they play two stone jumps three, right?
Right,
And then you do something else, and then the corner's still open.
right.
So kick doesn't seal the corner. Kick is for putting pressure. So, for example, if you already have a stone over here, then you could kick, and they're cramped.
That makes sense, yeah.
So the idea is white has some weakness, but black is also cramped. But here, black has no weakness, and white has weakness, but black has no weakness. So it's good for black. But of course, your opponent immediately fixed it, so
Yeah.
that was really nice. Well, there's half a stone right there. Normally to a shoulder hit, we respawn once, and then make a base.
Okay.
But it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. Make your base. You really want to respond to that one-on-one. Whoever plays first will have the advantage. Are you alive?
In the top?
Yeah.
Not yet, but I felt I could defend if he attacked.
Yeah, you're not going to die. But is black going to get a lot of forcing moves?
Yeah.
And what does the Clossi bird say?
Make a base. And make life.
Don't let them get forcing moves. So you can just slide if you want to just live. But let's go here. Then I go here.
This ended up really badly. Like, he got such a thick wall on the left there to invade anyway.
And then let's say you make life. I don't care. Then I come back. That was all free for black. And if you think the bottom left is more urgent, okay, well then I'm going to choose a Sentei Joseki and do the exact same thing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So, just looking at this, maybe you're so focused on getting to attack and getting to the big things that you're neglecting defense. And defense would be preventing profit. Not that you're going to die. If you die, of course, you need to defend sooner, but the less obvious defense stuff is where your opponent gets a lot of forcing moves and gets a lot of free stuff. That would explain why your opponents are getting so much, and you just never have time to get to it because you're
That
always
would make a lot of sense.
you're always trying not to die.
Because I'm always trying to not over defend, so I'll make like as little defensive moves as possible, so that I am like ahead. But obviously, if I'm losing,
It's not that you won't have to play the moves defensively. It's that are you going to play them now or are you going to play them later when your opponent's controlling the situation?
Yeah.
If you do it now, you will have less moves to invest. You just have to think of it that way. He's like, how many moves did it take to defend you now? How many moves did you spend defending it later? And you'll realize quickly that defense is very worth it.
Okay.
Okay, so that's one thing. Why here? Is this the largest framework?
No, the middle of the board is.
Yeah, are you playing defense or offense or big move?
It's not really. I mean, I guess it's technically kind of offense, but it's not really anything.
Yeah, it's not really anything. Defense, and then big moves, probably just break in somewhere, right? Like here or here. Just start breaking into the center. So you have Sentei. This is not Sentei for black. Can't do anything to white. You have a base, you can't be cut. So Gote. So that's 2 go-to moves. 3 go-to moves. There we go. I suppose it's not obvious where to play. But we should have some sort of like basic follow-up, right? So what about just playing here? That threats to jump at the bottom. What about just capping? The question is the top bigger or is the bottom bigger? This one's like, this one says, I'm not really sure where in the center is bigger, so I'm just going to plop a stone in there.
No, that was how I was feeling.
Yeah, but that means black gets to answer which one's bigger instead of you.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, but this one actually isn't that bad. It's just It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, but since black has no territory, it works on this board. However, there's a secondary
Yeah,
problem, which is the underlying problem.
Okay.
You can invade or reduce really easily because handling one weak group is easy. The problem is what happens when you have to handle two. So I run you up top or something and then get forcing moves. And let's say I attack from the second line because I actually try to force white out. Okay, and I'm just trying to do something. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just do something so I can cut the two groups apart and make you run with two weak groups. If I'm clever, maybe I can come up with something. Right? Having two weak groups on the board, if your opponent's clever enough, will lead to a big disaster for you. Is this defense?
No.
Why?
Because I can get my stone cut two apart. Yeah, which it ended up happening. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Honestly, when I watch back, it seems so obvious why I'm losing, but it's kind of like so hard to see in the game. I'm not really sure.
It's obvious when your teacher points it out to you, but but actually, this is good. If it's obvious now, then now that I've pointed it out, maybe it won't be hard to break this losing streak.
Thing is, I actually the funny thing is I should have won this game. I placed a stone at the end, and then he passed, and then I passed, and I lost by half a point. So
you're not reading the cutting points still. We talked about this last lesson. You played here, and you didn't read the cuts. And also, he plays here. You're still not reading the cuts.
Oh yeah.
So in other words, what value did this move get?
It didn't get anything.
Yeah. At least go here. Get the profit for the stone.
Oh, I can't believe I didn't see that. My God.
Well, you've been having the habit of not reading your cuts.
I think he leaves that for another turn as well, and I probably ignore it. Okay, he didn't.
Well, it's not big now. I was just... The two stones technically aren't big. Breaking into that moyo is the big thing.
But the thing is, I didn't even spot it in the game, like, at all. Like, that was even something that he had to fix.
There's a way into the center. Ah, not quite. Here, question mark? Looks like a lot of potential. But you're not alive on top. Yeah, this isn't good enough. You're not looking at the center at all. You're just looking at the top. Like, if you don't do something about the center, you're going to lose. So I would say... I'd be like, just let's make life. Just make life, right? I don't care how. Just two eyes. Now I can go deal with that center. Just live so I can go deal with that center. I would save this Aji to deal with the center. Aji is not something that you want to use immediately. You want to use Aji to accomplish the next goal. What is the goal? Are you trying to live in Sente? Cool. Did you live in Sente? No. This doesn't live in Sente. Okay, so that wasn't a good use of Aji. Did you break into the center? No, then that wasn't a good use of Aji. The Aji is meant... if you can't use the Aji to accomplish the goal yet, leave it. Okay, don't...
And if he just fixes it at that point,
then that's a free move.
You just take the free move.
Yeah, that's good. Then that does help the next big thing because that means you get the next big thing. Yeah. But Aji is meant to be used to help the goal of the turn.
Yeah.
Don't kill Aji. Black has way too much. Invade. You have to do something. You're gonna lose. We can't. You keep playing like these random. You keep missing the big move at random opportunities.
Here, I mean, like, the thought was that, like, I still had this stone at L14, and he obviously still has a lot of cutting points, like, these groups are all disconnected. So I was kind of trying to, like, I thought here he would respond.
Okay,
as, like,
okay, okay. That actually makes sense. That actually makes sense. You're looking at the Aji here and here.
Yeah.
And that's good. But is the C area the next big thing?
No, center is or bottom, like,
Right,
the
right. So
gap.
that's why it's bad timing.
Okay.
So actually, your thought there was correct then, but you just didn't understand the timing. That's good. That means it's just a new thing to learn. I thought it was random, but no, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Is your group on the top alive? If I play right here, what do you do?
Probably die because of the way you're saying it, I imagine.
Yeah, let's just do basic life and death. What's our basics? Reduce the eye space, and check the shape on the inside. Actually, we can just reduce the eye space. That's a rabbity 6. All right, so let's say our opponent plays the Vita Point. So let's say our opponent plays the Vita Point. Okay, we go in, White goes in, and we Atari. Okay, let's say our opponent plays the Vita Point 1 move sooner. Dude, just reduce until it stops working, and then we try to Vita Point. And it looks like if we just reduce, okay, here maybe reduce. Okay, now White's alive. Okay, so can we play the Vita Point now? Now we know where the Vita Point is. Let's say play the Vita Point now. Okay, let's say White plays the Vita Point. Oh wait, that just becomes that. Never mind. We have to play here. Reduce. Forcing move.
Wouldn't he just go like K17 earlier? Isn't it already dead if he just takes it when, like, if you responded to the right? Like if you stepped forward to what you were doing, you moved like here, and then you had White respond somewhere else. I'm just saying, would he not just take the two stones?
But White has a forcing move, so I just automatically assume the forcing move exists before I do anything else. The point is, you can identify the Vita Point that way, and then you just play the Vita Point first, and it works.
Right, I see.
But I was saying, even using our basics, we can see that there's a ton of problems.
Yeah.
So
it's actually kind of funny because I've recently started doing like life and death problems. Like I didn't really do them before because I just I'm sure you've heard this before as a Go teacher, but playing the game is more fun than studying life and death. So
yes,
I would just play games instead of studying life and death. And I started doing it, and I swear to God, I've gotten worse at it now that I've started studying life and death. I don't understand.
I also hate it. I hated Go problems with a passion, but my reading is a little bit worse than other Dons. My basics are like much better than theirs, but my reading is much worse than theirs, and it's because I didn't do Go problems. Now, with that being said, I did have a rule for myself as I was playing. I said I don't enjoy doing life and death problems, so I'll make a rule. So because my teacher says they're important, I made a rule for myself that I would always do the Go problems that came up in the game, and I would always solve them in the game. That way, at least I did some. However, doing Go problems is really, really important and will hurt you eventually.
Where do you recommend I should go to get them? Out of curiosity, like, what do you think is a good resource?
Do you know the 101 Witchy?
Yeah, I use that website.
Do you have our document, the translated document?
No.
If you go on my Twitch chat and just type exclamation mark 101 Witchy, this is that's the command. Just type that in my Twitch chat, and a link to the document will pop up. The chat made it, and it basically translates all the categories. So you just go in and figure out which categories you struggle with and start there, and do each category 3 times.
Okay.
And the first time, if you don't solve it within 30 seconds to a minute, just look at the answer. The second time, you can still look at the answers. Third time, try to get most of them, if not all of them, without looking at the answer. The point is to learn a tactic and learn how to read the tactic. Now, with that being said, there's a huge difference between doing Go problems and applying Go problems. Okay? Doing Go problems means you know how to solve for 2 eyes. Applying it means you can recognize when something is completely surrounded and you actually check for the 2 eyes. Because you don't check for the 2 eyes before that point. It's a waste of time. Well, not waste of time, but you need to recognize when you need to solve life and death and when you don't. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
So, the first thing that I think you're doing is you are not checking. Actually, you're not defending before leaving, and that's causing you problems later. The second thing you're doing is you are using Aji too soon. Use Aji to do the next goal. And if you can't, otherwise, just leave it for later. Okay? So you really need to think about, what is my goal? Is my goal defense? Can I use the Aji to live in Sente? No? Okay, then let's just live. Leave the Aji. Can I use the Aji to get the next big move? No? Okay, I'll leave it for later. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
In this game, you did nothing with D. D was actually not that bad of a move. It was a little weird, but it did its job. It did its job. It was saying, I'm doing something about this center. It's literally all of black stones are facing the center. Let's do something about it. Okay? And you did. It was a little strange, but it worked. And then you did nothing with the follow-ups. And you just let it die. Maybe that's the problem here. Wedge. Yeah, you're too tunnel vision on this.
Yeah,
Is this Sente? This one isn't.
The thing that's annoying to me is that, like, again, like, I lost. I actually should have won this game again, even then. Like, if I hadn't done a random move at the end, I would have won by half a point. Obviously, the outcome of the game does not change. Like, doesn't change how worthwhile it is, but, like, it annoys me to see all of these mistakes happening and, like, how anxious the gameplay looks, let's say. Like, really... Yeah, like, really rushing to kind of, like, focus on whatever I'm attached to at the time, and actually just making things worse and worse.
Yeah. Double-digit Q, we learn about approaching the 4th line stone for an evasion, so here and here. Single-digit Q, we learn about attachments and forcing moves. And then we make a combination. Armpit hits are not one of our basic invasion shapes. So I'm not sure how you arrived at this one.
I've never really like proper again again I've only been playing Go for like even still like a few months, so like I don't actually, like you said, like, you know, we learn in double-digit Q, but
okay, sorry, I teach at this. I teach.
Yeah.
I say that, but not everyone knows.
Like again, it's like what I've played. Even now, like, let me have a little look. Like, yeah, I haven't even played 300 Go games.
Okay.
Since I started playing, so a lot of these like basics, like.
Well, let's talk about how you can get the basics. How many of my game reviews do you watch?
Recently, not many, but like when I first started watching your content, like quite a lot.
Okay.
Like most of them.
But when you first started, were you in the 20 Qs or were you in the 10 Qs?
Well, I was in like 20 to 25.
Right, so the basics you learned were different. So you did learn the basics then, but then you got stronger, and now you need to watch more stuff, maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually.
So that's a theory. Then also, how many videos do you watch of other people, and how many videos or lectures or game reviews do you watch that are 10Q level? or around
Yeah,
TQ level?
yeah, not really. Honestly, I've put in a lot less effort into finding educational Go content in like since I've gotten better.
Hmm. So
But the
improving at
point I was
Go
more
is
the
50%
point
play.
more
Yep.
okay, go no, sorry, go on. I was just gonna say like the whole thing of like oh like I don't know how you arrived at shoulder hit is like I never really like there's probably things that you even that you teach that I just must have missed or not picked up on. So like at least to me there's big holes like oh there's probably holes in my gameplay that are other double digit Qs would probably be better at in certain areas. So like things like this like I didn't really like the shoulder hit was just what seemed the best to me.
I mean,
I don't
doesn't that just
know how
make
to
you
do others.
talented but not experienced?
Uh, I mean, I guess you could put it that way, but more it's like I don't
You
know
should
how to
always
deal
put
with
it in a
this.
positive light because,
I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying like
yeah.
you said like I don't know where you arrived at this, and the honest conclusion is like I see this position like this is part of why let's say I was
Hmm.
panicking in the game and focusing on this top right. It's I see this bottom side. I know realistically I should try and invade it, but I don't know how. I have a vague idea that it's possible and that a better player could pull it off, but I don't know how to begin approaching it, which makes me kind of like shy
Hmm.
away, I guess.
So the problem the problem isn't that you don't know. I mean, there's going to be a lot of things you don't know. The problem is, what do you do to find out? What do you do to learn it?
That's true, yeah.
Do you write it down and bring it to me? Do you look up how to invade? Do you buy a book on it? Do you ask people for reviews online? Go is 50% play, 50% study. That's the most efficient way to improve. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
So you say, I don't know how to invade this. Well, that's a good point. Um, it's good that you acknowledge you
What did I
don't
do?
know.
But what did I
So
do to find out
yeah,
what
what
to
did you
do?
do to
Yeah.
find out? It's basically Go is not about what you know. It's about how do you learn what you don't know. How do you approach the unknown? Because
Yeah.
every single game is unique, right? So the reason I asked you is how did you arrive at this? Because every single Go position, not every Go position, every Go game is unique. So okay, all your middle game is going to be a brand new situation no one's ever seen before. Okay? So, what did you do to arrive at your answer? Because the process of how you arrived at your answer is what's important in Go. Because there is no right answer. No one knows it. This is a brand new position. No one's seen it before. Okay?
Yeah.
So, you need a process to find a well thought out move. Don't guess. And then you say, okay, here's the process I'd use to arrive at my conclusion. Can someone help me fine tune my process? Ask for help. Bring it to a teacher. Bring it to someone else. Review it yourself. Find a book on it. And you'll get more and more theories and more examples. And eventually you'll gain a lot of experience and knowledge. And then you'll be where I'm at, where I have like 14 years, which is probably not a good number. It's more about maybe 3 to 5 thousand hours, 3 to 5 thousand hours of experience, and I say, okay, here's my approaches. But then you, as a pro, walks in the room. They have over 10,000 hours experience, maybe 15,000 hours. They say, okay, here's my approach, and you're gonna get much better, well thought out answers depending on the experience, right? But every single person in the room that approach it should approach it with some sort of idea,
Yeah.
and that's why I asked you, what was your idea? Um, don't guess. You should always have some generic idea, even if it's wrong. Just use your accumulated experience and come up with the best answer you can. But
Well, like I can say the idea was with the shoulder hit was just I
mm,
thought I could make a life on the side here if I did this, and that was my
mm.
best idea for
Did
trying
you
to
read
reduce the amount of
follow-ups?
points. Yeah.
How much time did you spend on it to read?
I honestly can't remember because I think I used a lot more time earlier in the game. Like I
Mm.
couldn't tell you how much
Well,
time I used on that.
let's talk about the basics of how this works. The try. Let's start with this. These squares are kind of your double-digit Q cheat sheet. They will get you started, and the follow-ups, and then you're supposed to learn the follow-ups in double-digit Q on how those work. But they usually work with one-point jumps, and they can have escape routes and slides and everything else. Single digit Q, you learn attachments and forcing moves, the triangles.
Okay.
You work with those
Disconnected.
and combine those with the squares, and you read out the follow-ups and stuff, or maybe and you're reading how to make a combination, and then once you make a combination, you read out the life and death problem, which
Okay.
is hard, but that's the skill you're supposed to develop at single digit Q. You're not supposed to just magically have it, but that's a skill you need to learn at single digit Q to improve your invasion skills. Invasions are basically life and death problems, just stupid complex. It's like, okay, black to live, or sorry, white to live.
You're playing on nightmare difficulty,
Yeah,
essentially.
and that's why we do life and death problems, right? I mean, they're very important. So it's like, but let's imagine you just play this one, right? And now let's imagine in our head we play here, here, and here. And now black has maybe two responses, here and here. And you say, okay, which one's better? Maybe here, and cut, right? And then we say, okay, now we've read 8 moves. How does the life and death look? Maybe not so promising. Can I get any other moves? Can I make a combination here? And does that affect it? Okay, and all of a sudden we've read a little bit more. Can I do a crosscut? Okay, so maybe attachment's not the answer. Maybe I can make this move. Okay, and then you start looking, and it actually looks really hard, right? The invasion doesn't look easy, but that's the process, right? That's technically what we're supposed to do. And if you're in overtime, you just you do a glance reading and try to make the best you can. Or sometimes you'll play one, like maybe you start with this one. You play one, and then now you have another 30 seconds to continue reading, and all of a sudden you've doubled up your time, right? But that's the process.
Out of curiosity, how
Mhm.
easy do you do you find it to read these situations? Because at least for me, reading in the game,
This one,
and
I
maybe,
would. This situation is impossible for white.
well,
Like
no,
you
no, no,
should
no,
lose.
not this situation, but just
Mhm.
generally, like at least in, I mean, I'm sure it's due to lack of experience, but in the game, like reading out even, I don't know,
I know
three or
what you mean.
four,
Visualizing
three or
stones.
four, like yeah, like at least to kind of
Have
like
you ever read the book
describe it.
Fundamentals of Go?
I think I have it on my bookshelf here.
It's one of the most useful
Lessons
books
in
in
the
Go.
Fundamentals of Go by
What's the first chapter?
Kageyama.
Yeah, what's the first chapter say?
The first chapter is about ladders, I think.
Yes. Have you read it?
Yeah, I read the whole book. I
Hmm.
got it for Christmas.
Do you remember what it says about ladders?
It says you should, like, I think it says you practice with them every day up until the point where you can read the ladder at the. It shows you a ladder at the start and says, most beginners would fail to read this ladder, but it's a skill you can get yourself to a guaranteed level
It's
with.
a
If you just
stone
practice.
visualization chapter. Reading ladders is the bare bones of stone visualization. And it says you should read a ladder every day until you can visualize the entire sequence, right?
Yep.
Guess what? On 101 Wei Chi, there's ladder problems. You should
Okay.
read the entire ladder in your head, stone for stone, until you can visualize what the solution looks like. What does that do? It exercises your stone visualization. What does Go problems do? Exercise your stone visualization.
Yeah. Okay, that's. I mean, no. I mean, I'm glad I asked. Actually, that's. Like, yeah.
No.
I have
It's an important question because
Yeah.
if you can't visualize the stones, no one can read without visualizing stones. So how do you develop that?
That's a problem I actually have. Is like, at least to me, when I hear you describe it when you're doing it on stream or when you're talking to people, it
Mhm.
really gives me the impression that like your mind's eye of the board, like the stones that are going through the moves, like to you, it might as well be like you're placing them down, in terms of how easy it is for you to see the board state.
Yeah, I can
Whereas-
read. I can read maybe about 10 plus moves without difficulty and see all the liberties and cutting points. And they're pretty much as clear as day to me. But you have to realize I've been playing Go for 14
Oh
years.
yeah, I mean it would be a bit crazy. I mean, obviously it would be like how to say it. It would be offensive almost to the amount of hours you put in if I could do that. Immediately.
No. You could probably visualize 10 moves in a year if you put in like 8 hours a day and did Go problems for like an hour every single day for a year. You could read as well as I could. My reading's is really bad right now because I'm out of practice. I'm just teaching. I'm not really playing.
Even to me that seems impressive because like it's one of the areas I struggle with a lot. Is like,
Yeah. In
I find
tournaments,
it very
tournaments
hard.
though, I read like 20, 30 moves deep. not accurately, of course. I'm not a pro. But I can visualize 20, 30 stones. And if you ask me to visualize a ladder, I could visualize a ladder on like a good 100 moves, probably. Um, I had a, there was a, I did, like, I had a ladder problem that were some pros gave the room or whatever, and I had read that chapter, so I had been reading ladders for years. Like I made a rule for myself, like I had a lot of rules for myself, that every time a ladder appeared on a board, I would read it out, regardless if it worked or not. I would just visualize it, just for the practice, because I read that chapter in Fundamentals of Go. I read that chapter, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do that. And every single time the ladder came up, even if it worked or didn't work, I would just visualize it, even if it would take long time, but I was developing my skills, and
Yeah.
and so now I can read ladders like um, pretty easy, uh, as long as it doesn't get some crazy like 180 moves, but I could probably read like 100 move ladders and visualize what the shape is.
Is the board even big enough for ladders to get that long?
Oh, you haven't seen ladder problems. Like some
Actually,
people.
there's one in the book, isn't there? Like in chapter 8, where it's like a double ladder problem where both players were just.
Yeah, that one's stupid. Don't try to read that. No, there's like ladder problems that
Yeah, but that one goes for like 100.
yeah, there's ladder problems that go into certain shapes. Like in the Discord, there's a ladder problem that turns into a heart. Um, and at Go Congress,
Oh, with the stones already on the board, yeah.
yeah, the ladder problem turned into a heart. At Go Congress, they had one that turned into like an hourglass, a flower, and it was just like, here's a ladder problem. What's the shape at the end? And you had to guess the shape, and that was the exercise. And
Okay,
um,
that's cool.
you can have a lot of fun with it. Some people like to make ladder problems with like the year, like 2018 and 2020. They make the year ladder problems, or they make certain animal shapes or certain Chinese characters, and they have a lot of fun with it. Like there's a lot of creative people that can create some creative ladder problems, and it's just visualize the shape of the end, or basically you play it out and you see the shape of the end. But a good exercise is to read them out and see if you can figure out what they're trying to do. But that's stone visualization.
Okay.
So I want to look at another game before we run out of time.
There was one that I've got 4 that I bookmarked because they were over the like these are games from even so I think
Uh-huh.
one of them might be 2 weeks old, but they were games that I thought were particularly valuable. This
Okay.
one I never like. I'll just link it. I think it's this one anyway. Jam. Yeah, I think this is the correct one. Yeah, I really felt like this guy was like good. I don't know how to say it, but like at the time I played it, this guy felt like the best player I'd played against. There was
What
um,
is an
and
AQ? And you haven't really been exposed to AQs, right?
I've actually beaten some, but
Okay.
I think the thing is I don't know if I was 10Q at the time of this game. Actually, I suppose I must have because it was since the rank
All right.
update.
So we're gonna follow the basics and see who falls off basics first. Open corners.
Okay.
I already don't like his opening. Open sides. Josagi. Possible, but okay. Josagi. 2 stones jumps 3. Okay, you're just playing defense in your approach. Okay. You can take Sente now. So here.
Okay.
Or if you want to keep doing what you're doing, make a base.
There would be yeah.
He's not that good. He's just Tanukis a lot, and so he appears very good. I bet you he's good at life and death though. So he's likely gonna live. You just surround, no big deal. And don't lose Sente. Okay. Is this really the big move?
Left side's probably a lot
Yeah,
bigger,
left
yeah.
side is bigger.
I think part of the reason for that move, again, this game was quite a while ago actually, so like my memories on it are not as good as normal, but I'm getting the sense that like the reason I did this move is because I had these the two oh god, I can't even think of the word.
Cutting points.
Yeah, the 2 cutting points.
Then why not fix?
Yeah. Is it not better to build and like kind of get strength in the area if you don't need to fix because you've got strength in the
No,
area?
because leaving Aji, remember how I told you to use Aji? he'll be able to deal with this area by using the Aji.
Right, okay, that makes sense.
It makes it easier for him to deal with the area the more Aji you have. So what you do is kill the Aji, so that way you have more control in that area.
Yeah, so then if he goes in there and he uses, like, let's say he uses his next turn in this area anyway, I should just move, like, left side and play the big move and let him get what he deserves to get.
Why are you touching weak stones?
I think I was being overly defensive here for the same reason as on the other side. Like, I was nervous at my cutting points.
Then just fix.
Okay.
You know, if you didn't have cutting points, you wouldn't be nervous about them. You're going to play another move for the cutting points, are you? Okay, no you didn't. Alright. So, there's actually a lot of things you can punish them. You played basic-ish. But here... you can technically ignore this and go here. White gets the corner, but you have influence on the top side and the center. Top right, you can also choose this Joseki, which you should learn more Josekis to this slide. It's why we like to play this one now. So it's English you learn this one. It's because this one has A, B, C, D as options. Like, these are common options. There's more, but these are the common options. And there's Tanuki. You can Tanuki this as well. Okay. So you should learn more options. It gives you more flexibility.
Okay.
This move is very Gote. And you Tanuki, that was good. But 2 stones jumps 3. I don't know. Do you know this?
Now.
Okay.
since about 30 minutes ago.
Okay. Let me explain.
I actually already should have been able to figure this out myself, because I understand that this is essentially the 1 stone jumps 2 is you can't be cut, and if you've got 1 stone higher, so you've got the 2 stones, you can place 1 stone further away, because you have 1 more diagonal to work with, essentially. I don't know how you would fully describe it, but, like, you've got the 1 more room on the diagonal, you know?
The rule of thumb is jump as far as you can without getting cut to make your base on the 3rd line.
Yeah.
Jump as far as you can on the 3rd line without getting cut. That's your base. That's the rule of thumb.
I'm guessing if you had 3 stones, like if there was another one on this.
Yeah, 3 stones jumps 4.
Yeah, so every single one you add just gives you another diagonal.
4 space and 5 space is pretty much the highest. You don't make a 7 space jump
at that
for
point.
a base.
It's too big.
Yeah, it's just an extension at that point. But for a base, it's 1 stone jumps 2, 2 stones jumps 3. Do you also know about the rule of thumb for if they have a stone on both sides?
In what situation, sorry?
This one on the left. If you make a base, but they have a stone on both sides.
No.
You want to jump. So your 2 space jump is fine. Right here it's fine. Because if I try to surround, you just extend. Okay?
Oh, but if he had a stone at like 3 already, or he placed a stone at 3, I should jump.
Because if you look on the eye space, box 4. Also, there is a ton of Aji for connection. So, what you do is you jump here and jump here. Additionally, of 2 stones jumps 3, jump. Same thing. It's very solid, very easy to play with. Okay. Even if they do something like this, you're not really worried about it. Even if they could connect. Like, I'm not saying they can.
You just take the, like...
you just have all the eye space and all the forcing moves, and it's really nice. Yeah. It's easier to deal with. So those are your rules of thumb.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so here, there's a punishment here. Here. I would let them crawl. You want to crawl, crawl. I mean, I get thickness on both sides. I control both of those sides. That's pretty good value, even if it's Gote.
Yeah, I like that shape, actually. That looks a lot better than what...
This is not a move. It's
Yeah.
very bad.
I mean, yeah, I know it's like. I just want to
This one though, I know you can ignore because if we play here, this is the same shape, and we can ignore this. So there's no reason you can't ignore this, but it's fine. I would really want Sente though, because you need a base at A. There's a punishment at B and C. So because there's very urgent things, I would either take Sente or I would just fix and take Sente.
Okay.
Fix and go to Sente. Don't keep letting him have forcing moves where there's urgent stuff. Also, let him crawl. You should not let him Hane his way out. If you wanted to do Nikki, you need to go here. Because this one Hane, double Hane. See that cut?
Yeah.
It's too easy. It's too good for Wet to get out.
So if I went
So
one
just
more,
fix.
it would be fine because he can't do double honey.
No, he still can. You need 4 in a row for the. You need 4 in a row.
Really?
Then
Can you just play through the? I mean, I can do it later on my own, but I just want to say like,
Yeah.
like if he double honeys now, surely like he doesn't have the. Oh, right. Does he go?
okay, let's say you try to cut.
Oh. Yeah, and then yeah, it's the. I was gonna say, does he cut across the 3 and then do the one on the opposite side, and then there's the no like. I mean, I don't know what you'd call this pattern if it has a name, but this one got me a lot
Yeah.
earlier. Like when I was first learning Go, the amount of times I lost 3 stones in the middle, quite insane.
Yeah. That's why Hane at the head of 2, Hane at the head of 3 is very powerful.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna say notes wise. Let me actually. You're not defending before you leave. You're using Aji too soon. Okay. Learned about bases. Learn to look for them. For defense and offense. So, for example, if your opponent never makes their base, that's an attacking opportunity. Defense comes first, but if you take that base, they're forced to run. That's forcing moves. Okay? So make sure your groups have a base. Make sure your opponents are making their bases. Like, hold them to it. If they don't, punish them. Okay? You said this one was from a couple weeks ago, so I'm not sure if this is the common theme that's causing you to lose. I want to say it's you're not playing defense. But I don't know. I didn't see enough games today.
The problem is I'm not, like again, I'm not really sure there's a trend because again the I mean I said this last time and you disagreed, but I do think I've been fairly like there was like a 1 week gap where I didn't really play. I've just been busy recently and that's probably gonna continue for the next couple of weeks. But it should calm down. But so like I don't know if there's a trend because at the very least I before was really working on I think our last lesson ended on like mindset was like a big point. And I really was trying to not focus on winning, but focus on playing my best. And you know, like go for what I thought were the right moves. And if I fail and I mess it up, then at least it's a learning opportunity. And actually, that was, I mean, actually, I say surprisingly, like it's kind of, at least I kind of think that this is like that's when you usually do play your best is when you're not worrying about winning or losing.
Yeah. Usually.
Which is kind of when I hit 9Q, and then since then. I've kind of lost, but I do think it's probably like a lapse in mindset, like trying too hard to win. Because I was really, I said it to you as a joke, you know, hopefully I'm still 9Q by the time of our lesson. But I think on some level there was a part of me that did kind of, the single digit alert is nice, you know.
So I would say
focusing too hard on actually, like winning and getting stressed out because of that, or stress is maybe the wrong word, but caring too much about the outcome of the game and it's been affecting my decision making.
Yeah, don't do that. Some of your stuff looks good and then some of the stuff looks a little bit random. I want to identify that a bit more. And also like in the first game, you did play the good move. It was a little bit off, but you know it worked. It did the goal. But then you completely ignored it and let it die. and
Yeah.
I didn't understand the consistency in that. So play defense and stick to basics. What may help is what may be something interesting to try is watching some game reviews, and if you to try and maybe get on the same page with my basics and stuff, maybe we'll like watch 3 to 5 game reviews for every 5 ranks. So for example, watch 3 to 5 20Q game reviews that I've done, 3 to 5 19 to 15Q, 3 to 5 15 to 10Q, and maybe 3 to 5 10 to 5Q, and just see what I say at each level and see what are the common things that I say at each level. And that might help you get on the same page, or might help you notice some of the basics that you're missing. Um, and that might just calm down your play as well. Um, I think the reason I like the idea of watching game reviews is I really want you to understand the process of how I arrive at my answers, because the process is what's important. The answer isn't necessarily important because, like again, the situations don't repeat, but the process is. And you can also watch like Bats game reviews and stuff like that. Um, I think I think the problem is you're starting to hit a little bit of a barrier because you improved so fast that, like you said, you have gaps in your knowledge, and we got to patch some of those gaps to keep you improving. Now, I think you have what it takes to be 9Q because you've reached it already, and you just had a losing streak that knocked you back down to 11. Um, I would like to like to simplify your game. I want to say it's defense, but I didn't see enough of it. But probably you're messing up a basic or something, and that's why you're on losing streak. And it's just important to make sure you're going through all of the basics. And so watching game reviews at the different levels might help, and understand like what I say at each level is important. That way, I also don't just take for granted that you know something when, like for the example, the two stones jumps three. Um, like I expect 10Qs to know that, and I don't know that you don't know it, right? So sometimes watching older game reviews might help you patch those. And if I ever say something that you don't know, make sure you point it out so that way I can give you like a quick Cliff Notes version to catch you up. Because it's important for me to understand what you know and what you don't know. Um, and I do make a lot of assumptions because you just kind of have to. I don't know everything in your head.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I understand.
But it's also important that you ask when you don't know, even if it's something like what's an Atari. Like probably should know that, but okay, here's what it is. Like, make sure you know this. Here's how you learn. Blah blah blah. And I think also like we talked about, every time you don't know something in the game, to go learn it. Right, that's how you learn. Every time you
Yeah,
don't know a Joseki, go look it up. Every time you don't know like how to invade a certain position, like look it up or ask someone to go over with you and like what would they do. Um, how would they arrive at their answer? And even if it doesn't make a lot of sense, when you get enough examples, you'll start to have a general idea, and you'll slowly but surely like get your own approach and come up with a little bit more well thought out ideas, even if they're not the best. It'll just be a little bit better, a little bit more information, and every little bit adds up over the span of hundreds of games, hundreds of reviews, and dozens of months, right? So every little thing
yeah,
helps. So I think make sure you're also studying, not just playing.
yeah. I think I
You're a
might
very
get a.
talented player, but we also need to study.
I think I'm gonna get a like a journal or like a book, something that I can write in,
Disconnected.
and I'm gonna set a rule so I at least play one game a day, and at least that one game I'll review anything I don't
I would
know.
set the quota for the amount of games you want to play each week, because in the West it's hard.
Right.
Like we have lives, we have school, we have work, we have holidays, we have friends come over and like, hey, we want to
Reconnected.
hang out today. Like, okay, let's hang out today.
Well,
You can't just say
with
no.
Corona.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I suppose. But you can't just say I'm going to put my life on hold because I haven't met my quota for this board game,
Yeah.
right? No, it's just a board game. But if you want to set some quotas, I would say you do need to do Go problems every single day. That you can do on your phone or whatever. Go problems every day, but just make a weekly quota, and also
Yeah.
make like a weekly quota of studying. And you don't even have to say I'm going to do X amount of things to study. Just say, I'm going to write down what I've studied this week, and at the end of the week, I'm going to review how much did I study, how many games did I play, and there's actually someone who does this to the extreme. Terry on Facebook, Buzzsaw. If you've seen her lessons, she has a blog and she actually writes out a graph. She graphs her week, and she puts about 40 to 50 hours a week, 30 to 50 hours a week into it right now. And she actually writes down everything she does in a spreadsheet and then graphs it all out. Actually has a graph of how much she puts in to go. It's very interesting. Don't have to do that much, but tracking your progress can help. That we can see maybe a hole in your studies or something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For this week, focus on defense. We learned a little bit about Aji, learned about bases. Attacking is good. I still want you attacking because that should be the strongest part of your game. It should be the way you win. But I think what you've been doing is actually tunnel visioning on Aji and neglecting defense. Fix those two things and attack at the proper timing. Play the big moves at the proper timing. And play Aji at the proper timing. And that should solve a lot of problems. You should still be able to attack eventually. And I think identifying baseless groups will also help with the attacking. But I think the reason you're struggling is because you're neglecting weak groups. You're getting distracted by small things. And then your opponent's getting a lot of forcing moves. And if those small things don't work, then your opponent just gets the big moves.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any questions about this lesson?
I don't think so.
All right.
Nothing I can think of.
All right. So, yeah, hopefully you found this lesson helpful. And I will see you when I see you.
Yeah, I'll message you at some point to schedule the next two for this month.
Oh, I have a calendar now, so let me go ahead and give that to you.
Aha! I saw you post something about it.
Oh, have you already seen the post on Patreon?
I saw the post that you asked. Essentially, it was like, "Please help." I
Oh, gotcha.
time scheduling my lessons. I didn't see the other one.
Oh, what tier are you at?
It's the 60. I think $60, or is it more? I might be thinking of pounds. Like I can't.
Are you in a Are you in your own special tier?
I'm not sure.
Okay. It doesn't matter. Here's the link.
I can log in anyway.
Yeah, there's the link. It's fine. Just get on there and schedule the next two, and we'll be on there. This is saving me a lot of communication time. I just post the link. I'm like, if you want your lesson, you have to do it. Get on the calendar. Otherwise, you're not getting it.
Having the burden be on the student makes a lot more sense.
Well, it also, it's I wanted to make sure that I reach out to the students who don't schedule because then everyone knows or they might miss it. But it's more of it takes like several days per student to get things scheduled because the wait time and the communication back and forth, figuring out the time zones.
And again, people have lives. I mean, I understand completely. Like you must spend.
Yeah, and then I can't reach out to the lower tiers until the higher tiers schedule because they're the ones that want to be the same time every week. And then you have the once a month people who sometimes will throw them off. And so I'm like, okay, let's go through and blah blah blah. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just make a schedule, and then you can pick all of them at the same time. So yeah, that's my new thing. You can go ahead and schedule that. And yeah, I will see you when I see you.
Thanks so much.
Have a good one.
Bye.